Welcome to NFL Daily, where we always kick the ball out of the end zone. I'm Gregg Rosenthal here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with my friend Jourdan Rodrigue. It's another Tuesday together. We hope to welcome Colleen Wolfe back next week. We'll see. But yes, we have Omens galore to talk about, including one in Minnesota. It is the final day of Omen season. I don't know if you know that.
I love it. You've been kind of on the Omens beat the entire offseason from the spring all the way into the summer. You've been tracking first plays all across the league.
Big into first plays.
You've been
big tone setters.
Symbols and signs. You're kind of like tracking runes at this point. You know, the stars, all of that. So you're really in it.
Omens are my corner of this football cognoscenti. So we're gonna do some news off the top of the show, and we just got some interesting news about Jalen Carter. We're going to talk about some omens that we believe in. So basically, after week one, which omens, good mostly, or bad, that we think will have some staying power. Patrick Claybon is going to contribute something to this show that I have no idea what it is, but I think it's going to blow my mind. And we're going to preview Commanders, Packers coming up. But yeah, we'll start with the news, and Jalen Carter of the Eagles will be eligible to play in week 2. The NFL announced on Tuesday that he will forfeit an entire game check. They were actually calling it a 1-game suspension. The press release says Jalen Carter suspended 1 game, but that 1 game was game 1, the opener, where he was actually on the field. So I feel like they're being a little fast and loose, but who am I to be pedantic with the NFL suspension rules? Essentially, they're saying spitting is a suspensionable event.
Yes, and it is at least a 1-game suspension here into the future. It sort of sets this precedent. They're saying this because he missed the entire game. He didn't play. It is a little bit of a loophole, in my opinion.
So that's the best. If you're going to spit, just get your money's worth, do it at the beginning. Because are they saying then if you spit 5 minutes into the game, you're kicked out of that game, but you weren't suspended for that game? It's a little...
Yeah, I think... we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this doesn't happen a lot in the future.
No, they were very clear.
That's a lot of money. That's a whole game check for Jalen Carter.
Sometimes you don't need to be a media insider or media literate to notice that every single insider out there said, this is supposed to warn people in the future how serious it is about spitting. And I get it. I like having an unofficial rule that spitting gets you suspended 1 game.
Noted. Spitting is bad. Spitting on people is bad.
It is bad. But also, it wasn't a suspension. He got kicked out of the game. If it was a suspension, he wouldn't have been there in the first place. So good news for the Eagles. They're heading to play the Chiefs this week. I'm looking forward to previewing that on our show Wednesday. Some other items. We mentioned George Kittle, who had that injury on the Monday night show. And if you're looking for all the news recaps, Nick Shook and I hit a lot of the news. And on Mondays, a lot of news dropped. So we hit that at the end of the Monday night recap. But we didn't know that George Kittle was officially going to injured reserve. And we didn't know at all that Jake Moody is off the island.
In fact, we were told something completely different earlier this week when Kyle Shanahan said after Sunday's game that Jake Moody would still be their kicker. And then, one day you're in, the next day you're out. And Eddie Pinheiro is on his way after a workout to San Francisco for a new era.
I just think you should stop drafting kickers. It just doesn't seem like it works. It puts so much pressure on the young men who get drafted. It's such an unpredictable position. And we've seen it time after time that really good kickers who have good careers struggle so badly with the team that drafts them. Younghoe Koo, who is in some trouble now. Actually, the Falcons signed another kicker. Meanwhile, John Parker Romo to their practice squad to give Younghoe Koo some competition. But you remember how he flamed out with the Chargers. The Patriots have had Chad Ryland, who's now good with the Cardinals, flamed out as a draft pick. I think they should have kept John Parker Romo, who outkicked their rookie kicker now and missed an easy kick in week 1. But they drafted him, so they feel like they have to keep him. This keeps happening over and over. But man, Jake Moody had a rough, has it been a couple years now with the 49ers? It's been rough.
Yeah, and you know what? I hate it for him just on a personal level. I think that it's just such a hard job. It's such a fickle job, and there's so much mental stuff that goes into it. And then when you're sort of dealing with the like heaviness of Kyle Shanahan's expectations of you, even though they were the ones that drafted him with that high of a pick. I think it was a 3rd round pick that they drafted him with.
Yes.
And so it's a tough job. It's made tougher when there are expectations on you. They did give him a pretty long leash here.
They did. I was surprised they didn't replace him this offseason. I think there were a lot of people that watched the first game. They were like, "Well, oh, Jake Moody's still the kicker." Poor guy. He'll probably get another chance, as you mentioned. Eddie Pinheiro goes to the 49ers. I think it was like a land grab for these kickers. And, we mentioned it on the show on Monday night, but 4 weeks is a long time to be without George Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
And a hamstring injury is the last thing you want to see with a 31-year-old. And so much of the offense is based around what George Kittle can do. Not that the other tight ends in the room can't do some of the things that he does, but there's definitely no receiving threat. The next 4 games at New Orleans, home for the Cardinals, home for the Jaguars, and then a big game against the Rams on Thursday night that he will miss. And so that's the earliest that he could get back.
Juwan Jennings is also banged up after missing the entirety of training camp. So then they predicated a lot of their offense and their passing game through George Kittle, who had a healthy training camp. Christian McCaffrey popped up on the injury report late last week, giving a lot of people a little bit of a scare.
Then they gave him 31 touches in true Kyle style.
Yeah, and then he was fine. And so this group continues to be, the passing game in general continues to be of I think, a significant concern. The only healthy player is Ricky Pearsall, who went over 100 this weekend.
Your boy! And it could have been like 130 with a touchdown, if not for a great play by Reek Woolen to break one touchdown up. But they will count on Jake Tonjes, who had a big-time touchdown.
Yeah, big-time catch.
And Luke Farrell actually led the team in snaps. So those are their tight ends. Will preview their game, as I mentioned, on Wednesday. Not a ton of huge headlines, so I think this Tuesday show is kind of just like talk about some things that we think are fun. There were a couple other signings, by the way. Jabril Peppers goes to the Steelers, who was a really good player for the Patriots the last couple of years, and so I think they will find a role for him. That's because their safety, Deshaun Elliott, is going to be out for a little bit. But I wanted to just throw some sound by you, just some things that caught our attention in the last day or so, and maybe it's not like hard news, but I found it interesting. And I'll start with Liam Cohen talking about why Brian Thomas Jr. Didn't have much production as a receiver. They threw 7 passes to him on Sunday. It was an easy win against the Panthers, but he only had 1 reception. There wasn't a lot of fantasy points for Brian Thomas Jr. Listen to Mr. Cohen.
I think we try to get him a touch on the first or second drive of the game. First play of the game, right? We don't convert it, throw him a screen, low, doesn't come down with it. And then the flow of the game, we missed him on a in-breaker, which he had a lot of room to run. Missed him on a corner route where he was fairly open. And then missed, had the one on the out of bounds. So you're talking about that's 5 catches right there that gets him into the flow of it.
His voice has changed.
Oh.
It sounds so okay, so he's got a little bit of a southern accent emerging there, but he's still got that northeastern passive aggression talking about what actually happened.
I think he's just so honest.
He's so honest.
And
it's tripping me up.
If you've been listening all offseason, we love you, but this is maybe the 3rd time we've noted this, that Liam Cohen is so honest. If he was in a different market, I think it would get treated differently. And I do wonder if it's going to catch up to him, because it reminded me so much of last season where Doug Peterson was talking about how open the receivers were. There is a little bit of a trend here. Urban Meyer actually said some similar things in his brief time in Jacksonville. And you do wonder if Trevor Lawrence hears that press conference and is like,
that's what I'm saying
Coach,
about the passive aggression.
I know, but it's like I don't even think he knows he's doing it, but everyone's listening to that and being like, so you're saying that Trevor Lawrence really isn't seeing the field too well? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's the subtext here, where I'm like, man, it sounds so matter of fact and straightforward and casual and calm, and there's an edge to it though.
Is there though? Like, I think he's just answering the question. Maybe you know him better than I do. I know you do.
That's what I'm saying is like, I don't think he's meaning for that to have an edge to it. It just sounds that way. It's like, I don't think he means it.
I think it's the last thing that he would want. And I do think something is going to happen where he learns from it, where he sounds like he's being too critical of his own players in a way that he doesn't. But it's very different, for instance, compared to Kevin O'Connell, who we'll get to later, who goes out of his way to almost artificially pump up his quarterbacks to such a degree that they believe it and they play awesome. Let's hear from another coach that I really loved. Last season, out of nowhere, for some reason, Todd Bowles kind of started to have a bit in the locker room where he just goes a little crazy, and I love a good recurring bit.
Guys, that's a hell of a job. Keep fighting now. I know it's only the first game, and I'm not usually like this, but that's... We got a long way to go. We understand that. We fight like that, we'll win most of our ball games, guys. I will see you guys on Monday.
Oh. Such a good sound clip from Todd Bowles, who is just so monotone and so almost boring all the time that him just suddenly yelping like that in the locker room is going to get the guys going.
I mean, you could see in there why they love playing for him. I'm perennially somebody who really tries to compliment and talk up Todd Bowles because I hear how offensive coaches talk about what it feels like to go against his defense for a full game. And you see it there. He's got his guys behind him, and I love to have his casual. He didn't give him a day off.
That was a
we'll
letdown.
See you guys on Monday.
I know. I actually was like, maybe we should have cut that out because it was like this great, celebratory moment. And then he's like, we'll actually see you tomorrow. And everyone's like, oh, well, it is week 1. But come on, Todd. You could have mentioned that another time.
Just a little bait and switch,
I think that win meant a little extra to him after losing twice to the Falcons last year. And I think after rewatching that game, he felt like he stole one. And it feels good to steal one. Let's now listen to the sound clip from Sunday that caused my son to do a celebration dance in my kitchen.
The flag on the back of your helmet today, the Japanese flag, what was that about?
My great-grandmother's Japanese, so showing love to her.
So that's Jourdan Daniels. He's officially on Team Japan. You can see it on the helmet. And if you're not aware, the NFL is allowed to players with international heritage to wear the flags on their helmet. And they've been doing that for a few years, and I think that's really cool. They make them put the American flag above it, which, to me is kind of funny that they make that like literally it has to go above, but then you have the Japanese flag. And my son was very excited about that. I think the Japanese community out there is excited. He called Jourdan Daniels' family. My wife is Japanese. I think that's like a bit of a stretch. But then when I saw a picture of Jourdan Daniels' great-grandmother, who's still alive, and it's fantastic, I was like, oh, yeah.
She looks great,
She looks great.
Yeah.
She looks like their Japanese grandmother, so it was outstanding.
That's so cute. And, I'm glad for Walker because he must have been in a little angst watching CJ Stroud try to, get something done in that Rams-Texans game. And I know how much he loves CJ Stroud. So this was a nice little lift for Walker, I think, a little pick-me-up.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking back to, let's say, the Chappelle Show and the race draft, I mean, it's a pretty big win for the Asian American community to try to claim Jourdan Daniels. So congratulations to everyone involved there. Look, that was our news. We're going to do our segment right now. And like I said, it's Omen season. I do believe that you can learn certain things as the season starts. And I do think that first plays in like playoff games and big games, and obviously how coaches want to construct their opening series, like it all is telling. And I think is the coach telling you more often with those decisions than they do behind the podium. So omens can exist, throughout the course of the season, but really I'm saying omen season ends now because these are omens for the entire season. So you can go good, you can go bad, you can go anywhere you want. Jordan, why don't you start?
I'm really excited about this. In fact, I called dibs on it when you suggested this segment idea for me and you to do today. Armand Membou's arrival in the NFL is an omen of what the Jets can be this season and where their strengths are. First round pick, right tackle, lined up against TJ Watt for most of the game on Sunday and gave TJ Watt just about all he could handle. Looked really, really impressive. Overall, he gave up 1 pressure on 26 pass blocking snaps, according to Next Gen. 16 of those snaps were specifically against TJ Watt, where he only gave up, again, that 1 pressure. The Jets offensive line generally gave Justin Fields good time, clean space. We're forcing the run game against a really talented Steelers front. Breece Hall ran for 5.6 yards per carry and a 52% success rate. This is all about Armand Membou's performance specifically. Really was an omen for what this Jets team wants to be this year, even in the loss, and what they want to be made of. They want to be physical up front. They want to give the quarterback time to unfurl some really gorgeous throws, and they want to run through your face. And they did that.
Their young tackle duo,
Yeah.
Including Olufashinu, who's now a second-year left tackle and missed a lot of last year, but looked really good when he came in at the end and looked really good in this game, is the envy of the NFL right now. Like, that's exactly what you want. I know it's one game, but that's enough for me. To shut down TJ
Against
Watt.
that caliber.
To have it, it's kind of like, maybe he will have bad games this year. Maybe he won't have that many bad games because he's that talented. But to have that high of a high right off the bat and show the level of athleticism and movement, and I know, some of the O-line tape heads out there are just going crazy for some of the strength and the nastiness that he's shown against Watt, but also the technique. To be able to do that right away is like the tackle version of like what we saw out of Odell Beckham in his first game. It's like once you show you can do that, that level is there to be used now for that entire rookie contract. It's amazing.
It's incredible. And it's also, it was a really good investment pick for them. There were other ways they could have gone. There are other directions they could have gone. And this is someone who, this guy could be a franchise player for you for a decade if it keeps going well. Even if it doesn't go this well as it did Sunday for him, even if he dips and has adversity, it could still be this cornerstone player. And this exactly fits Aaron Glenn's ethos of what he wants this team to be.
Our friend Ollie Connolly, I remember him and John Ledyard on their podcast, Read Optional, in the preseason, after his first preseason game, saying some of the things he's doing, it just pops off in a way that, not to compare a guy to Trent Williams, because I think their play style is different, but just that there are only so many individuals who can move like that. And if you don't think that I'm going to be tracking all of Armand Membou's career when I was publicly stumping on this podcast for the Patriots to take him at number 4 in 40s and free agents instead of Will Campbell, you're wrong. I'm worried about this. But I do like that the Jets offense could be so much more fun to watch.
And everybody wanted them to take one of these tight ends, right? And that's what everybody was sort of stumping for. And they took the tackle, and my God, can he play?
Okay, well, let's just slide right into it. How about Tyler Warren's first drive in the NFL?
Yeah!
So, they wanted him to take Tyler Warren. It was probably a spot where they weren't going to get it wrong. His very first play in the NFL, and this to me is Shane Steichen, making a decision of who we want to be. The very first play that the Colts ran this year was a first down to Tyler Warren. Later in that drive, they throw it on the sideline, and he makes a great catch there as well. And that, to me, was a statement of intent by what Shane Steichen wanted to do. He reminds me of Brock Bowers in the sense that, look, I know they're completely different players, and they're going to win in completely different ways, but you could see immediately that Brock Bowers was a different sort of mover, and that once you saw it against NFL competition, you're like, oh, this is going to work. And we've seen enough. It's going to work. Tyler Warren's going to work. You could see it in the preseason. You can see it now.
It's interesting because before the draft and talking to a couple of different evaluators and scouts and all that, it was very clear. It's if you are going to draft Tyler Warren, which a lot of teams wanted to, you are then committing to designing most of your offensive game plan to go through Tyler Warren, specifically as a mismatch player. You're not going to be asking him to do some of the traditionalist, more inline tight end stuff all the time. You're going to get him in space. You're going to get him the ball, and you're going to flow and funnel that passing game through this sort of unicorn type of player. That's what Penn State did. That's how he emerged in his last season there. And that is what made him so covetable by Shane Steichen, because Shane Steichen has really been wanting that player. He has had a lot of experience coaching and scheming for tight ends. This is exactly who he wanted. And he's also, I think Shane Steichen wanted to flex a little bit, to your point on Omens.
No pun intended.
He really...
kind of a flex player.
And he wanted to... Boo. And he wanted...
I mean, if you're going to go rootin' tootin' all week long, let's trying to help you out.
So I just think that this is like, it was him. I love what you said about play callers doing this. All of these guys do this. They basically tell you who they think they are with their opening scripts. And that's exactly what Shane Steichen did with Tyler Warren.
So just to recap, literally first play from scrimmage of the season, 14-yard pass to Tyler Warren where he makes a defender miss and goes up to silence. Second completion of the season was the third pass. Tyler Warren over the middle for 8 yards. Then a nice throw to Michael Pittman. Then a deep pass up the sideline to Tyler Warren for 21 yards in between the cornerback and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was in zone coverage. So that is 3 of your first 5 attempts and 6 plays overall that are going to this guy, and they're all at different parts of the field. I know the opposition was forgiving, I guess, on Sunday, but look, Patrick picked the Dolphins to win. I thought the Dolphins were going to win, and so I think that was a statement play calling series and game by Tyler Warren. I am so excited to see what's next. Give me another Omen.
I'm going Los Angeles Chargers on this one. So there was a moment, it came at the very, very end of the game after a pretty strong Chargers performance against that Chiefs defense, when Justin Herbert keeps the ball, runs for the conversion, and then slides down. That in itself, maybe not an omen, but it's the little flourish, and you'll see it if you're watching on YouTube. As soon as he slides down, it's the little flourish where he sort of flexes one arm and he sort of points with the other, and he's got this face. See, he's sliding with a lot of flourish here with the flex.
Oh, he held it. He held it for so long.
And he held the pose, right? This was magazine cover style posing. Now, Justin Herbert, for people who aren't as familiar, he is a very quiet, very shy, like media shy, more introverted type of person. And in fact, you hear more from Jim Harbaugh about Justin Herbert when you talk about gassing up your quarterbacks to an excessive level. This is who you hear from most of the time talking about Justin Herbert. But I think that in itself not only was an omen that they're going to use him more on the ground, which he did that game. He ran a couple times. I was at one of their training camp practices. They were installing more design runs for him. It's also he's healthy this season versus the start of last season when he was dealing with the foot injury. And they're going to use him to be a weapon in that way against defenses, but also an omen of Justin Herbert maybe emerging into the spotlight a little bit more this season. Maybe taking the mantle of being this more maybe public-facing guy who's going to put a flourish and a little edge at the end of some of these plays versus quietly, kind of going about
just
it.
a little more comfortable in his skin.
Yeah.
Hey, just a kid having fun out there. Justin Herbert. I think you could see it. I think there was a looseness and a confidence in the way that he played. And you can look at the rushing totals, and he had 31 yards on the game and think, oh, that's not that crazy. That's actually one of the higher marks of his career. Like in a given season, he'll usually top that once or twice. But in general, the 7 attempts stand out to me more. That's more, again, than almost any game that he's had as a pro. Like 1 or 2 at most each season, he runs more than that.
And it wasn't all scrambling. Some of it's designed, and then also picking up a couple of crucial downs too. I mean, it was absolutely a threat, and you could tell that the Chiefs were a little bit on their back foot defending that.
So I didn't mean to have a theme with mine, but I just went with rookies, and specifically wanted to give some love to the Browns rookies against the Bengals. I know they lost that game, and it just felt like the most Brownsy thing ever. But before the season, all we said, we were focusing on the quarterbacks, but all we said was like, the only thing that matters is going to be the development of these rookies on this team this year. Mm-hmm. And their rookies were awesome in week 1. And that's, to me, just such an incredible omen. And I'll start with Harold Fannin, who, was a great player after the catch, had a carry, played as a fullback, and him and Tyler Warren actually are now the co-leaders in the history of the NFL for receptions by a tight end in their first ever game. Like, no one's ever caught more than 7 than Fannin and Tyler Warren. And the leader of that, and I guess this is becoming a trend, was Brock Bowers a year ago, set the record. And watching this game and just seeing all the different ways that they used Harold Fannin was so exciting. And then looking at the box score, Dylan Sampson, I thought, played much better than the box score indicated. Was really good as a receiver, didn't have much to work with as a runner, but reminded me of like a Gio Bernard, but like right off the bat, really was up for everything, looked like he belonged. And then finally, Carson Schwessinger at inside linebacker. Like, I know we've had a joke about Mason Graham. He just didn't really show much this game. We'll move on from, we don't know. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. But Carson Schwessinger goes out there as a rookie linebacker and was really running things for the Browns, like run and chase and looking good. And this is a guy who was a walk-on at UCLA right off the bat. Really good signs. And that's with their quarterback sitting on the sideline.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people, and I think because a lot of us are scratching our heads over this, but a lot of people were making the headlines about the quarterbacks that they drafted, right, in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. But very, very subtly, Andrew Berry had a really, really good draft. He found multiple starters at key positions that they're going to need. And Joe Flacco spoke so glowingly of Harold Fannin Jr. all throughout training camp, to the point where, reports on the ground out of there early on were saying, this guy is getting moved all over the formation. He's coming out of the backfield. He's in the slot. He's out wide. He's in motion. Like, he's doing all of these different things as a true mismatch player who not only can change the looks, but also can change the gaps. Because if you have a player that big, aligned out wide, and you send him in motion to either in the stack or on the other side of the stack or even in the backfield, you're automatically changing every single gap for the defense to defend on the field. And that is insane if you have Joe Flacco, who's like, oh, heck yeah, having some fun at his old age.
Plus, just the mental anguish and the shame of giving up that big of a day to someone wearing the number 44. Like, just he's
okay. That's a fullback number, though. Come on.
I know, and I think he's wearing it for fun. I don't know. I actually believe I read that whatever he wanted was not available, and so he ended up with the 44. But they use him as a wildcat, and my favorite rep for him was as a fullback on the goal line, blowing open a hole for their rushing touchdown. Was that Sampson? I forget who it was, but either way, like, to be able to do that, but also have great feet, great vertical ability, like really pop as an athlete, like his feet move so quickly. And then Schwessinger, like, PFF's not perfect, but he was their 5th highest rated linebacker in all of football last week. He was the highest rated player on the Browns, and he is the classic, like, see it and just trigger so quickly, kind of like a Navarro Bowman type of player. That, if everything like went perfectly well, man, they have a lot to be excited about. So I think that's a good omen that actually the Browns are going to be more fun this year than people
and
think.
certainly more fun next year.
That too,
right? Because
Andrew Berry might not be around to enjoy it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you said he had a really good draft. I was like, we got to see it on the field, but now we have.
Yeah, and I couldn't remember if I said Andrew or accidentally said Adam, which is his brother, who we just had a feature on in The Athletic. So
many berries.
So
he works for the Eagles, right?
Yeah, it works for the Eagles. Yeah. Okay, my third one, my omen here, and this might take a second because I want to get through the little pieces of this, Greg. But I know that you have witnessed over text me totally geeking out about this, and so I appreciate the space.
Big special teams gal. Yeah.
Okay, the Vikings icing Monday night's win over the Bears on a situational mastery moment on special teams, to me, is an omen for the season. First, I want to kind of narrate this clip of actually what happened. So there's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock in the fourth quarter. The Vikings are receiving the kickoff, up 3 points. Cairo Santos, Bears kicker, kicks a returnable ball. Ty Chandler, the returner, looks right at Kevin O'Connell on the sideline, who's waving him onward. And I love the call by the booth. They described it as a third base coach waving on the runner. And I loved that. So returning this kickoff, taking it out of the end zone, burned out a natural stoppage for the 2-minute warning. So the Bears then had to lose their last timeout that they had Instead, at 1:47 left to go, after the Vikings ran a play immediately on the other side of that. So if the ball would have been kicked through the back of the end zone, Ben Johnson did say after the game that this is what they had hoped would happen. There would be no runoff, right? And then they would have that 2-minute warning as a natural timeout, an extra timeout, instead of having to then just burn their last one. Because obviously the Bears, who were down 3 points at the time, really wanted to get the ball back. And Ben Johnson estimated they would have gotten it back with about a minute left if the ball would have gone out of the back of the end zone. The other thing is they could have kicked it out of bounds if you did not think your kicker, which Bears fans were really letting me know in my mentions that they don't think Cairo Santos could kick it out of the back of the end zone from that distance. So they were saying, so you could have kicked it out of bounds at that point situationally, and all that would have happened was still no time runoff. You would have incurred an illegal penalty and a 5-yard penalty for that. So you would have allowed the Vikings to start at the 40.
Yes.
There is no re-kick in that situation, right? But Ben Johnson seemingly did not want to give up the 5 yards, and instead wanted the ball to go out of the back of the end zone. Kevin O'Connell sees this thing floating through the air, and it's going to be short. Ty Chandler stares him down as he catches it. It's just an epic moment. It's such an epic moment of situational awareness. And the reason why I have it as an omen, Greg, is because we saw the absolute duality and range of what the J.J. McCarthy experience is going to be for the Minnesota Vikings this season, where it started out god-awful and then ended really, really cool, right? They're going to experience that every single game, and they're going to need every edge and every advantage that they could possibly have this year and possibly get this year, including their defense, which really showed up for them, especially in the second half because of Brian Flores and that group. And then also every tiny situational edge and advantage. And Kevin O'Connell really, really preaches this internally, has extra meetings for all of these things, and that factored in a huge way on Monday night. I thought that was one of the plays of the game.
It was great, and that was a great job narrating it. And you think back to the Kirk Cousins, great year with the Vikings, and then you think about last year, and then this year. And I don't think it's a mistake that they have been great in these one-score games and great situationally. Now, I think it is fair to point out it was almost a bigger blunder by the Bears in ultimately execution and not understanding that was not an easy thing for Cairo Santos to do than it even was like a great play by Minnesota, because we were going back and forth. And I was curious. I was like, well, if they must have told them, it was obvious he had to take it out. And Kevin O'Connell did confirm that the special teams coach had gone over it with everyone to take it out at the time. But who was the returner again? Ty Chandler. He's not their primary returner.
Look at his face.
Yes.
Yeah, look at his face. He's not the primary returner.
They have two back there, and they tried to avoid their returner who had a great night. And so they kicked it specifically trying to kick it at him and make him make a mistake. So even though they had gone over it ahead of time, he sort of panics in the moment and isn't quite sure. And a great job by O'Connell to be like, come on out, bro.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't want to really get on the Bears too much about losing the situational advantage. I do think Just
kick it out of bounds. Peyton Manning's calling for it. Troy Aikman's calling for it. If everyone's first guessing, you can get on him. That was a huge mistake.
It was a huge mistake, but it's almost like, okay, you have to understand, are you willing to, you have to be the coach who's willing to cede 5 yards to make ultimately a less risky play. And that's a big lesson for Ben Johnson, I think, in this case. But that's what I'm saying about this on the Vikings side. It is a simple executionable thing, right? But if they don't do it right, then you're only up 3 points and the Bears defense is coming after you, and I just think that it's the little tiny slivers of moments.
Yes.
That's an omen for what the Vikings will need to do to win games this year.
It decides so many games, in the Bears figure they just got a head coach that's going to be better at these sort of situations. But on night one, with one decision, he made a mistake. And Peyton Manning on the Manningcast, I didn't see this at the time because I'm prepping for our Monday night show. We're getting ready to go.
Unhinged text for me.
That I missed until afterwards, but I saw him. And he was screaming and yelling before it even happened that you have to kick it out of bounds. You have to kick it out of bounds. Not even through the end zone, just make sure to do it. And they did not. And so lesson learned, but great job and a great moment there. Man, Kevin O'Connell just seems like he would be a fun coach to play for, and they always have great moments in the locker room. I saw this, and I just figure if we're talking O'Connell, let's get his post-game locker room into the show.
None of this happens. This feeling that we have right now does not happen without one other guy. All right? Did not go the way any of us wanted. This guy, all right, I could tell from the jump, he was poised. He was poised. But this guy didn't quit me, and you always thought he would figure it out. 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown all in the second half.
Enter J.J. McCarthy losing his ever-loving mind, and everyone just so fired up about it. I like it, though, because Kevin O'Connell is so long-winded and, game recognizes game. It took him like 4 minutes to even get to the big J.J. McCarthy finish, but you could tell he was saving it all up for J.J. McCarthy last, and you did see the true enjoyment of all the teammates happy for JJ and in that moment.
Yeah, it was cool. And Kevin was like living and dying with every single play that was happening. And you could see after JJ McCarthy ran in that touchdown, Kevin O'Connell, I thought a vein in his neck was going to burst. They zoomed in on him celebrating on the sideline as if he had been the one to run in the touchdown. It's like former quarterback trying to be the guy for this young quarterback that Kevin never had. He's been open about that. And I just think, man, we ran through the range of emotions for each team throughout that game. That was a classic in my mind.
He's had so many quarterbacks, but this is the first one that's his.
Yeah.
That's his long term.
Oh, that's kind of
And
nice,
there can only be like one first game, And so I think you're absolutely right. It was a little extra, and he's all about the quarterbacks and fixing the mistakes that he must believe that the Patriots and Jets made back in the day with him when they had total lack of faith in him, and they cut him pretty quickly after making him a 3rd-round pick behind Tom Brady and Matt Castle. I mean, that was a tough situation. Let's wrap up very quickly with one that we went and checked back in the Omen committee, decided actually bad omens can happen all the way back in training camp. It was some sound from Mike McDaniel that was really capped off during week 1, but this is back in training camp. Let's listen.
Good morning. False. Great morning. Let's go.
Why great?
What
makes this one great?
Because we're another day closer to death.
I don't know why that would make it a great morning, Mike McDaniel, being one closer to death, unless you're like really into the afterlife. Maybe he's a man of faith. That's possible. But yeah, that seemed to bounce around your head when we were thinking about this week 1 and what could be kind of a season-long death of the 2025 Miami Dolphins. From a football side of it, I think it's that first drive, I think it was the 4th play of the game or so. Tua Tagovailoa throws an interception over Tyreek Hill's head, and their miscommunication. This was nothing more than just missing a pass that Tua just sailed into the waiting arms of a Colts defender, and it just felt like a bad moment. I mean, it was a great interception celebration, so I enjoyed that by Cam Bynum. But
silver lining.
Yes, that was a silver lining. It's just like, feels like this whole offseason's been a bad omen for the Dolphins.
Yeah, an omen of your anarumisance too, that you've been talking up. But I would say that clip has stuck in my head because I do know Mike McDaniel to be sort of a dark humor kind of guy, a sarcastic guy, a dry humor, like sort of one-liner guy as well. But in that one, he did not look like he was having any fun with it at all. And it just has stuck in my head, and I'm like, oh.
Interesting.
Oh, man.
But why would that be a good day? I know it's being
well, it's like a nihilistic sort of sense of humor, except it's just like, ooh, but also you might have a year.
We will be released from all this pain that I'm in now before I'm just back to like calling plays for the 2026 Green Bay Packers or something.
Someone, my colleague at The Athletic, Ted Wynn, goes, wait, hear me out. 2026 Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel.
Right.
I was like, oh.
Everyone, is going to have their Dolphins jokes. And to start the game that way, for Xavier Howard to be in the mix on a lot of these plays and say he gave some help knowing their playbook, the former Dolphin, it just it's what you just don't want out of week one, which is all the negativity that they've had around them the whole offseason within literally a fraction of plays. We talked about the first drive by Tyler Warren and like a new day starting within Indianapolis, and the total opposite was happening on the other side, which is like, wait, this is like last year, but totally even worse. Maybe they turn around in week 2 and we're wrong, and then it's not a bad omen. Omen season is now officially over. So it's the
Man,
segment.
what a ride it was, too.
It was great. I want to take a quick break. I do want to tell everyone listening, you'll hear some ads. We'll pay the bills. But right on the other side of the break, you do not want to miss what Patrick Claybon has cooking for us. I don't know what it is exactly, but he sent in a 2-minute long voice memo that I'm just ready for. So that's going to come up right after the break.
A new NFL season means a new chance to see promos for a new run of episodic crime dramas. Do we think today's NFL Daily crew can spot the real among the fake? Let's give them some options. Number 1, Crime Line. Features Gerald Hickson, a sarcastic detective with a keen eye for details, navigating the organized crime scene near the port of Seattle, Washington, all while continuing a decades-old search for a sister that went missing in his childhood. Number 2, 10-4. Features 911 operator and beleaguered former officer Shaw Johnson, who despite efforts to clear his own name, elects to take matters into his own hands to provide victims with their chance at his own brand of justice. Number 3, Sheriff Country. Features Mickey Fox, a straight-shooting sheriff in the small rural town of Edgewater, California. She must balance the demands of law enforcement with the complexities of motherhood, community politics, and a past that won't stay buried. Number 4, FBI New Origins. From award winner Dick Wolf and the team behind FBI and Law & Order, FBI New Origins is a high-stakes drama focusing on the trainees at Quantico who are thrust into service after a sleeper cell is revealed to be operating within the United States government. Those are your options. One of them is real.
Oh.
Which one is it, Greg? Which one?
My favorite thing about this is he wanted to just play this game off air the other day, and we didn't have time, and that he got to use his great voiceover skills. This is amazing. It is one of my favorite parts of the new NFL season, seeing what the new shows are on CBS and Fox and not quite believing them. Okay, I'm going to do the process of elimination. You can try to assist me here however you want. Or you just completely disagree. FBI New Origins with the Quantico Sleeper Cell. That had a little Claybon flair to it, and so I'm eliminating.
Okay,
that
so
one.
Because of your knowledge of Patrick,
it almost felt that one felt a little too tongue in cheek for me. So I'm gonna eliminate that one. That leaves us with 3, and honestly, they all work equally to me. There is something about Sheriff Country.
That just hits a lot of demographics, Greg.
A female sheriff balancing work, being a mom, and a past that won't stay buried. I can just feel that in the pitch meeting. The 911 operator going vigilante is insane, but just insane that it might be real.
Is it just like one shots of him driving a van around everywhere?
For some reason, it was the name in Crime Line, which he decided to use, Gerald Hickson, which I didn't buy. We're going to go Gerald Hickson. I don't think so. The detective looking for his sister, among other things. I am going Sheriff Country as
you guess,
my
and
pick.
then I'll guess. So you're guessing Sheriff Country.
I'm going Sheriff Country.
I'm going to go FBI New Origins.
Oh my, that's insane. Do you know the answer?
No, I don't know the answer.
There's no way FBI New Origins is the answer. I don't know who is on a microphone back there. Maybe it's Quab, maybe it's Eric. Please tell us what is the answer.
So we're going to go with Greg's guess because Claybon sent me 2 separate audio files, a right answer and a wrong answer. So we'll go with, we might just play both just so we can hear more Patrick. So we'll go with Sheriff Country.
Yes.
Greg's answer. And here you go.
Great job, team. You're a crack team of investigators who not only pay attention to the game on the field, but the promotional materials that make football so much fun.
Let's go!
Remember, if you see something, watch something. See you on Wednesday.
And then, of course, I mean, again, just to get some more Patrick Claybon on the show, here's the wrong file.
Oh, no, unfortunately, that answer is incorrect. It's important to remember that despite the fast-paced action of NFL football, as well as the demands of facilitating one of the top football podcasts on the planet, we still need to pay attention to the promotional materials that make football so much fun. Remember, if you see something, watch something. See you on Wednesday.
I love you, Patrick.
Yeah.
You're a beauty. And I got to say, after getting just wiped out in my picks against Cynthia on this show, against you, Patrick, on Game Day View, it all doesn't matter because I nailed this. I feel so good about myself after getting Sheriff Country. I had no previous knowledge.
Sheriff Country, like the internal struggle of, what is it? Law, motherhood, and a past that won't stay buried.
You thought you could get me, Patrick. That makes me happier than almost anything that's happened to me today. So that says a lot about me.
Thanks, Greg.
Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. What a week 2
I know. I'm
Thursday Night
so
Football game.
freaking fired up
Technically
for
the
this.
first Thursday Night Football game because the first game is counted as a kickoff and they let NBC do it because it's part of the television package. So it's not the first Thursday Night Football game. And I think that's why they gave maybe the best, certainly one of the best games on the TNF schedule to Prime Video right here. Commanders at Packers. The Packers are favored by 3.5, and we will have Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Man, I would just start anywhere, but two of the most dominant teams in week 1. I was just curious. I know DVOA means absolutely almost nothing after week 1, but I was like, I bet they'll be two of the higher ranked teams. They got to be. And they were. They were number 1 and number 3. The Commanders were tops and the Packers were number 3. I was surprised the Commanders were so good. And then I realized like that offense was incredibly efficient last week and the defense did whatever they wanted.
Well, it was incredibly efficient. They were a little loose at times. I'm really curious to see what this is going to look like against this Jeff Hafley Green Bay Packers defense that looked really, really good against the Detroit Lions to open the season this past week. Like, Jaden Daniels, I have no doubt that this is just week 1, getting to the line of scrimmage, getting the, all the timing right, a couple of penalties, a couple overthrows, especially, he and Terry McLaurin are still kind of getting their feet under them as a connection, after Terry missed so much of training camp. Deebo Samuel was used a lot, but this offense at times just looked a little bit, and yeah, Giants defense, the defensive front was stout and all of that, but just looked a little bit just loose, and I don't expect we'll see that moving forward. I think this is when they really start to turn it on. This is when you start to see the Commanders as the Commanders that we know them to be. But I am very curious to see what the strategy and what the plan is going to be for this Packers defense now featuring Micah Parsons. I don't know if you guys have heard the name recently.
Right. I mean, it's a great test for the Commanders, but watching that game back, I thought the Giants line played really well.
They did.
And that just, to me, gives great credit to the Commanders, who ultimately were one of the most efficient running teams in the NFL. They had 1 million penalties, and that's
what I'm talking about. Just
right.
A little loose at times.
But on a per play basis, they just kept getting out of problematic situations. And Laramie Tunsil was awesome in that game. He really did a good job. It's the reason you sign him. Josh Connerly, I thought, was solid. I actually thought he competed really well, in tough matchups. You're going against Dexter Lawrence. For the most part, they ran the ball how they ended up with over 200 rushing yards. What more do you want there? And then for the most part, I thought Jaden Daniels was protected well. The couple times that he got sacked, it felt like it was a little bit more of him being too far back in the pocket and holding onto the ball. And he said that after the game. He said 2 of the 3 sacks were on me.
And some of that's Brian Burns. They were sort of in this one-on-one battle at certain times during during a couple of these quarters where Brian Burns would get to him and then Jaden Daniels would flush out and then run by Brian Burns. And at one point he stared him down as he was running by him after Brian Burns had gotten 2 sacks on him. And so I just think that this is that was week 1. It was sort of a flush out.
Yes.
This is when we're going to actually see the full powers of the Commanders. Because like I said, again, Terry McLaurin was not super involved. He will be moving forward. Deebo, the plan for Deebo, I think, stays. This was a really solid, versatile, multiple plan for him. And then their run game looked great. Bill, who was getting Bill Nye the Science Guy chants, you could hear over the broadcast, and has like massive media scrums around his locker every day
Crazy.
because the legend of Bill grows. It's a fun group. They're still doing everything that they did last year with the tight ends, Zach Ertz and John Bates. Zach Ertz being the red zone threat, John Bates being that sort of backside blocker and the run blocker that they need. Greg, I actually also think though, so I thought Jordan Love played amazing. I thought he had an incredible game for the Packers against Detroit. And I am really interested to see what the Commanders defense looks like against a competent offense, because the Commanders defense looked really improved in every phase. Linebackers were already good, but in every phase up front, they looked bigger. They were stopping the run well. Giants could not move the ball at all. All pressure points of Russell Wilson's pocket were being affected, whether it was the interior or the exterior. They couldn't do anything. And yes, that's part of it. They were missing Andrew Thomas, and it's the Giants, and they just are struggling to be cohesive on offense. That's part of it. But this Commanders defense, like, legitimately and truly looked like an improved group.
I totally agree. And I think that is the bigger test. Like, is the Washington defense that improved, or was it just about the opposition? Because they just could not have had a better week one in terms of their offseason moves, which I question. Like, Javon Kinlaw had one of the best games, I think, of his entire career. Marshawn Lattimore, he's going up against Malik Neighbors for a lot of that game. He had a couple penalties, but he looked faster. He looked healthier. They've been talking about Jeremy Reeves, who's always been this great special teamer, now actually playing at safety. And you mentioned, like, the pass rush as a group, I think, was effective overall. But now they're going up against a Packers offensive line, which normally is great, but Zach Tom got hurt in that game. Aaron Banks, their big free agent signing, got hurt in that game. When Tom was knocked out, they actually brought in Darian Kennard, who they just signed, or just traded for, rather, from Philadelphia, instead of one of their young players, Anthony Belton, who got a couple snaps. But basically, if you're counting on potentially 2 backups there for the Packers starting, that's at least on the table against this improved group. Von Miller was really the only one who was pretty quiet, but I think you made a great point that as a group, they really worked well and looked disciplined. And I think it's going to be a really big test, because we just saw Dan Quinn coach up one of the most consistent defenses in the league 3 straight years before coaching up one of the worst defenses in the league last year. So there is a lot of reason to believe that with this talent that they could be a lot better this year.
Yeah, it looked like a part to hold defense. Like last year, I think where we got really excited, and I think rightfully so, is with the play of Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. Those guys popped, and they had to be by nature of how the defense was, but also they were all over the field and they really flashed. And Frankie Louvu was getting sent on every kind of pressure you could ever imagine and having to cover. And Bobby Wagner was getting sent on pressure and having to help stop the run because they couldn't do it up front. And so, but this looks more like a functional full picture of what it's supposed to look like, when it's not necessarily like you have one position group that has to do everything. It's everybody has to do a piece of something. That's what this group looked way more like. And yes, again, caveat week 1, caveat Giants offense. But in terms of being where they needed to be, being, rushing as one group, rushing as a part to whole, like I said, and playing the run as a part to whole, to me, it looked really positive.
Yeah, and obviously this will be a much bigger challenge. And you mentioned Jordan Love, and to me, we're kind of seeing the old Jordan Love in that game. And by old, I mean like when he first came into the league. Where
he wants back on quarterback island.
Yeah, where it's just a lot of great throws. That first touchdown to Tucker Kraft, there was such a little window there.
Oh, it was such a good throw.
The bomb to Romeo Doubs that Doubs dropped, but it was an unreal throw. The bomb to Jaden Reed was all fantastic. But ultimately, like, he didn't throw the ball that much, and he did almost gift wrap an interception on a play where he freaked out a little bit to Alex Anzalone and held on to the ball. And he did literally throw a pick six, which was a great play by Brian Branch, and it was called back by penalty, but the penalty had nothing to do with the play. And so it's something I've tracked with him on PFF, especially. Like, when he first came into the league, he had the highest percentage of big-time throws, the highest percentage of turnover-worthy plays. I thought last year he really reined both back in, where we didn't see as many high highs or as many low lows. And this game was kind of back to being like gunslinger Love. And it'll be interesting to see that against this, I think, improved Commanders defense with Amos and Igbenogany was making plays. Like, there's a lot of good players. If you just add them up, they just didn't play well together last year.
Yeah, Tom Brady, who could not say Igbenogany's last name.
It's a tough one
to save his life. But But this is going to be interesting because I have to think that we see flashes of this, obviously, and we certainly saw it last year too. But I think Matt LaFleur gets the tight ends a lot more involved with the linebackers in conflict. And I think you see more Matthew Gold in this game too, and some of those gadget types of things that really, again, stress the second layer. The best players on the field still are those linebackers for the Commanders. And so to put the guys who they're so, basically controlling traffic at any given point, to put them in conflict with a lot of motions, a lot of using different players out of their traditional position, putting them in sort of these hybrid roles. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that, and we'll see how it goes. And on the other side, Jeff Hafley is starting to cook a little bit, I think.
Well, he's got Jourdan Cooper. I want you to talk about him in a second, but it's really interesting because I think people looked at that first Jaden Daniels game and thought he was like a little off, missed a few throws by a little bit, and
he did miss.
That's
two,
fair,
he
but
missed 2 touchdowns. I'm the biggest Jaden Daniels fan there is. He missed 2 what would have been touchdowns that he's going to hit at any other point in the season.
Right, and one of them's Terry McLaurin, and like he missed those throws, but I thought it was a good game from Jaden Daniels because I think you could already start to see, which is crazy, the year 1 to 2 growth. The game just seems so slow for him.
Yeah.
Our friend Ollie Connolly was pointing out about like hunting matchups, and I really see it in the Lamar, and Lamar is the right comp for him ultimately in terms of like the way they're running their offense and the way the run, I think, sets up the rest of the running game and the way the run sets up the pass. But when he is moving around, scrambling, trying to manipulate the defense to open up holes, the game is so slow for him, and he just seems so mature beyond his years that's really exciting. And that's the type of thing Jeff Hafley can't really plan for.
Yeah.
No one can.
Yeah.
And that beats like good plans.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting because you do have, obviously there's Micah Parsons, who we expect his workload to increase a little bit. Dan Quinn says his plan would be, if he were coaching Micah Parsons, to rest him, to sit him. So obviously a little, mind warfare there, shooting across the country there. But I think that it's funny because like Jaden Daniels has no fear. I think Micah Parsons is a player, obviously you circle on the defensive plan, but like he has no fear. I want people to go back and watch that play again where he races Brian Burns around to the edge and then runs by him. He's staring him in the eyes. Like it was so like veteran quarterback. Like it was so, I'm not afraid of you, even though you just took me down twice. Like it was such a cool play. That, you have guys like Micah Parsons, you have Jourdan Cooper, who is one of the best young players on that defense. In fact, Micah Parsons was telling the reporters in Green Bay that he drafted him in his IDP fantasy league.
Whoa.
Yeah, my colleague Matt Schneidman captured some great sound and some great comments from Micah Parsons today because he said Jourdan Cooper scored 36 points for him in IDP fantasy because Micah Parsons couldn't draft himself, so he's like looking for a player to draft and picks up Cooper. And it's true. I mean, he's one of the bright young players on this defense. He's an outstanding player. You watch him. There's a play this last game where he reads and sheds emotion like so perfectly to where he's helping force a play wide. They wanted to cut upfield at a certain point, and he helps force the entire play wide, and it's all read and react and like shedding unnecessary like garbage shoot stuff that he doesn't, that's trying to throw him off his timing and still making the play. Like it's incredible. It's going to be so fun watching those two guys play together.
And how they help, the people around them. I think they can leave Quay Walker in a more just like point and shoot type of role instead of asking him to do too much because Jourdan Cooper is now doing more. That now Lucas Van Ness is finally rushing more from the interior, which makes more sense in part because Parsons is there. It is all like really setting up. I think the matchup in the slot, if there's one guy to pick on with the Packers, it's probably their slot defender, Javon Bullard. And so that's the matchup with Debo, who played a lot in the slot, or Zach Ertz, who still is getting it done. And man, Debo's first week just made that look like, wow, as long as he stays healthy, which is a big if, the way they used him on like the deep overs and in real ways that
they got to end around.
I think they kind of had stopped doing in San Francisco a little bit. They had stopped having him be a real wide receiver, and they used him both ways. I think Cliff had a couple special running plays with Daniels and Debo in the red zone that were exciting. This is going to be an awesome game. 3.5 points. You picked Friday night rather. Really well last week. You picked the Chargers to upset the Chiefs. So who do you got this time?
I got the Packers this time.
I do as well. Although I would, if I was into that sort of thing, and I can't be because I work for the NFL, I would what I call thread the needle, which is I would still take the Commanders. 3.5 points at this point in the season where I think these are two good teams and we don't know that much about either one of them. I would just take free points and I would take the free points, but I would take the Packers to win. Fun. See you next Tuesday show.
I know.
The trick is though, I won't see you next Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday, and then I'll see you Sunday. And just
you haven't gotten sick of me yet, Greg?
just a little, not at all. The show is just peaking because we have Jourdan Rodrigue and her Harold Fannin season. Good omen for this podcast. She's just dominating in a variety of roles. Just something to keep an eye on tomorrow. We love the preview show, our favorite show of the week, at least for me. And we wanted to expand it really and be able to talk about every team even more. So you'll see that in your feed tomorrow in a couple shows, but you will get every single team covered, every single game, and even more preview action. So we are really excited about that. And you can also check us out, of course, on YouTube and the NFL channel, Fast Channel, free over whatever it is, television. That's it. I need to go to sleep. No, we need to get ready for the preview show.
Omen season is over, but
Omen season is over, but football is back. I was going to stop saying that, but you set me up.
But it's back.